Perfect, that's fine. Welcome everyone. My name's Pooja. I am a former radiotherapist. I worked in cancer care for about 15 years, helping people through some of the hardest times of their life, really. And I'm a mum of two little ones, my daughter and my son as well, who is 1.5, and decided to leave radiotherapy earlier this year in April, just focus full time on being a mum and also to build my business, which is Nanny. So here's a postpartum support tool, an moment postpartum tool that helps you feel just a little bit 1% better if you're feeling a bit down or if you're a bit confused as to what you're feeling. The period is a whirlwind for most people, full of so much joy and so much of the in-between. And so, you have a lot of time or space to kind of feelings in a way. So that's why I built Nanny. The idea came to me when I was holding my son. I was walking him backwards and forwards in the room, just like with him on my shoulder and just walking him to sleep, which with my daughter, she was amazing in that regard. But my son didn't conform to any of the sleep schedules and everything else that I loved so dearly. He didn't conform, and he still is such a whirlwind as well. So it's me, and we wanted to do this webinar. I've been lucky enough to be connected with Emma, who just hit it off straight away, and she's just such an amazing soul, and she's a very skilled midwife and has plenty of experience, and our, helping mums feel a bit more supported. Hers is throughout pregnancy and a little bit postpartum as well, but most particularly postpartum. Our visions sort of aligned a little bit and, got on really well, hence why we decided to do this webinar. And Emma's been so gracious to kind of have the floor on this. So I really appreciate that. So at the moment, Nanny is still in its testing phases. So it's free at the moment to download. We'll put a link to it in the chat as well, so you can just have it to hand if you need. So this presentation was a little bit about all of the things that I wish I was told during I was pregnant and expecting my babies. And obviously this is just is not necessary that every, things that I mention could happen to you, but this is just what I think. And just useful to have an idea of what may go on, just so that you feel a little bit more prepared. So the 4th trimester is officially, it's the first 12 weeks after, but I found that, and for a lot of people that I've spoken to, it is an adjustment period, especially it's your first baby. You have these societal ways of you that, your baby comes, there's going to be this instant love, hold your baby. And I would say for both of mine, that really wasn't the case, if I'm honest. I felt like, for me, I had my daughter in my arms and I just thought, oh, I do now kind of thing. And so there are a lot of things within society, I feel, that are just peppered in as to, mother looks like. And I would say that nowadays that's just not true. It can be kind of make it what you want it to be. And like a bit here about, there's 2 weeks, 2 to 6 weeks. So week 6 is pretty much where the official 4th trimester ends. And there you get your with the GP and they say, oh, everything's great. And, you get back to it. But actually there is a lot of change. There's a change in your life. Like, got told a lot before my daughter came along that, because you won't get to sleep when the baby comes, which was helpful, I felt, because it wasn't really practical as to, because you can't accumulate sleep. I knew I felt tired. I tired when she was here. I didn't get much sleep then, but then telling me that, sleep while the baby sleeps is also, sometimes as well. And it was difficult to sleep while the baby sleeps for me when I had my son, because my daughter was around. But I would say that I've put in a few practical tips as well, things that I wish I knew. that might help you guys as well. And of course, it is such an amazing, exciting time. It is one of the most incredible things being a mum. And that doesn't change. That's from when they're little up until they get so big. It's like a parent, and being a mum makes you hold a mirror up to yourself in a way, because they're a little mirror of you, and they show all of the things that you need to work on in their strange ways. So sometimes it can feel very humbling, even at this stage, but it's the best thing. And so I've put kind of that might change, but again, this is things that may or may not happen to a lesser or greater extent to you. But you have emotional time. That may just be like ups and downs of emotion, especially like the shift after you give birth. There was a lot of things to process. Sometimes it's, feel so excited. I was excited when my babies came along. But then also afterwards, it's sort of that feeling of potentially grieving the life you had before when, you're a parent and things look slightly different, okay. I think many unsaid pressures about being a new mom, the way that you do things, and there's just no space for it anymore. I mean, everyone has their right to do motherhood their own way and whatever way works for them, whether that is like breastfeeding, not feeding, doing bottle fed. Like I feel very lucky in this country to have such good formula that a fed baby is the best way. And there's no shame around that at all. I know that with my first, I was so adamant on kind of like pump breast milk, and why I thought that at the time. But I exclusively pumped for 6 months, which was really hard as well, because it was kind of like I pumped feed time and then I bottle fed. So it felt like at the time I was doing 2 jobs and then sleeping thereafter. When I look back, I sort of think, I've just given formula. I could have saved myself that little bit of, time. But everyone's choice. It's an individual choice, and don't let anyone tell you that, anything about it really. So and your body, sleeping and not sleeping much was that when my son was born, that forgetfulness of things as well. And that's just normal because is supposed to be recovering after you give birth, and it doesn't necessarily stop at that 6 weeks. It may probably more like 6 months, 6, 7, 8 months to start feeling a bit more like myself again. And just part of it really, and the baby sort of grows with you as well, and they then start sleeping a little bit better potentially, and that then gives you a little bit more recovery for your sleep, because like everything else I feel is a little bit harder when you don't have much sleep. But it's just what things can you then practically put into place so that even on those days that you don't have much sleep, you have kind of creature comfort kit, if you like, that you can just use and execute without having to think about it, which I'll come on to in a minute. Sorry, I could go back a bit, Emma. Yeah. There is a lot being talk around your identity, what it means to be a mom, like a big thing as well right now. And that is essentially, you guys have heard of it already, but it's essentially that evolution, you as a mum and who you're becoming, and might change throughout that first year as well. So the mum that you are to your 2-week-old, you might be then different to your baby who starts to crawl and then, lone toddler like mine is right now. So like your does change as well. And just a beautiful thing, really about getting back to yourself as such, but it's more about putting those building blocks in place so that you come out of your postpartum period reborn way. And I think that's like a beautiful way of looking at it. And I like to, with Nanny, I've kind of some audios about that as well. So feel free to have a listen and let me know what you think. With as well, I feel like whether it's relationships with family. So if family come round, perhaps it's all about, oh, how's the baby doing? And then, oh, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. Like sometimes society sort of told us that, oh, it's all about the baby, when actually, no, I don't agree. I feel like it's about you as a mum first. If you as a mum aren't, cup's not full, how are you then going to give to your baby? And I must say, I was very lucky with the support that I had around me into being fed. Like everyone was make sure that I had a full tummy, which did help. A lot of my mum's food was the best, so it was nice to have my mum's food. So that's like her way of kind of taking me, which was really nice. But in terms of exactly what I was feeling, in terms of like being at night, run backwards and forwards, I felt nobody knew that apart from me. And in those moments, I felt a bit resentful of my partner who was sleeping in bed or, around me. And I did think to myself, well, Pooja, you're the only person that is awake at night. There must be other mums across the world doing this as well. Which made me feel marginally better. I wouldn't say it made me feel like much better, but marginally. And like just have support, but in the right way, the right kind of support really does help. And I think sometimes you just don't know until you're in it as to what support you want. And maybe some ideas like that you had around what you want for support when you're pregnant, they may change when you have had your baby. Like my family around pretty much most of the time. And then with my son, I sort of said, no, thank you. Like I don't want that, because for me, I find that a lot of people around kind of too much at the time. And so that felt like the correct decision. But having like a plan B to just sort of think, layers of support that you could put into place that could potentially help you. And also even just with as well, for both mum and dad generally, like different for both partners, there's a new being that, you made and that you've now brought into the world. And it's like, how does the dynamic changes, and the dynamic can change. And it's sort of like that question of, okay, well, I know that's going to happen. What things do you think we can put into place as a couple, as a team, to kind of that running head start at the point when we know that we are going to be tired, we're going to be exhausted? What things can we do? Can we look at, I don't know, freezing meals or things like that? Can we look at practical supports, or even, our partners, and saying, what help look like for us in our particular situation? How can we help each other? So that's a good thing, I would say, to kind of place, I guess. You can move on, Emma. This statistic it's not meant to kind of, but it's more kind of that this is the reality of the situation, that, people feel a bit up and down when they have their babies. So that does happen to you. That's okay. And, be okay. So that was all that statistic was. You can move on, Emma. Okay. So things that actually help in terms of feelings, this is quite useful. Part of like preparation a new baby is knowing how you deal with stresses. And so, because like a baby isn't exactly pleasant for the ears, but also when it's your own baby, I mean, I've read online, I don't know, something happens, like you feel a little bit stressed when it's your baby crying, and that is in you. And that's normal, but it's just how do you deal with that? Like when my son was born, I permanently had in my noise cancelling headphones, because then I could actually hear what his cry meant in a way. And I know that sounds confusing to say out loud, but having the headphones in gave me that like physical, in a way, to sort of think, okay, is his cry something that needs immediate attention, or is his cry something that, okay, he needs to settle himself? So it gave me that like distance, panicking in a way. Because I'm not like I'm not a super laid back person. I should put it that way. You know, I have moments, and I think we all do. And just the honest truth, really. Feel how you deal with stresses. Knowing that a little bit will help during the early months as well. And also knowing that the fourth trimester and the year, to be honest, like it's a transition. Everyone goes through it. Nobody speaks about it like super, but just how it is really. And so that's fine. That's normal. Building your circle early as well is also really important. If you have people around you, that kind of, and just like some friends or you know, awake at the times that you're awake, you know, you just message and say, oh, are you okay, hon? How are you doing? Or how are you doing really? You know, okay, are you not sleeping? Or even just people you can send funny reels to on which I have a few, and it's always at 9 o'clock at night as well. So like, you know, all of the wild roller coaster that it is, and how the price of berries has gone up. But it seems like in my house, it's just, I spend so much money a week on berries and it just all gets inhaled and I never get a look in. So those sort of people that you can kind of have honest conversations with, line up those people if you have them, and if you're lucky enough to have them around you. And if not, you know, apps out there like Peanut, which you can download and on there. I mean, without it being a plug for Peanut, because I work for them or anything, I'm two of my really good friends from Peanut as well, who just lived on my road. And, you know, before I was pregnant with my daughter, I waddled literally down to the Sainsbury's cafe to meet a girl who'd given birth, and like she's one of my closest friends now. And very much you know, each other, we're just talking over the kids, you know, chaos ensues. It's lucky to have those sorts of people, and it'll be good to have that early and build that early. And it, like, just that you are allowed to find this hard and you're allowed to love it. And both things can be true at the same time. Some days, you know, you think, gosh, like this is amazing. Look at those little hands, those little toes. You know, you can be dealing with a poo explosion. You think, oh God, you know. Once when I was on the way into London with my husband, and I decided to wear a white shirt that day. My daughter was small at that time, and I thought I needed to pack a spare top, so I did. And basically, I got her out of the car, and literally she had like a full explosion on my top. And we were just about to go out for breakfast as well. And so, you know, there was like in the back of the car, changing my clothes, cleaning her up. Oh, it was, you know, the things that you think, I know I should feel really blessed right now, but I really don't feel that right now. And it's okay. Like I still have that top as well. I haven't even been to it. I've washed it. I should have just, I mean, it's a cheap top, but you know, that reminder to just be like, well, you know, you have to love every minute. But you know, you're really grateful for it. That doesn't make you a bad mum. You know, honest about it and giving yourself that permission. That's fine. And you know, you love them with all your heart. They're emotionally just part of you. But at that moment in time, would I not preferred not to have poo all over me? Yeah, you know, and it's okay. You just turn and just a space to say how you're actually feeling. And nanny is that at the moment. I'm trying to test everything out, but you know, can be a space for you guys that you can kind of back pocket to sort of say how you're really feeling. So I've talked a little bit about some of the practical ways. I've said about naming your 3 a.m. people. Also about logistics, partner logistics, and that could be very different for different people. I spoke to someone yesterday who was sort of telling me that, you know, be 50-50 with you know, and I sort of thought, well, okay, but it could look very different for different people, and support could look very different. For example, for me, I would love to have had that, but my partner, he works in healthcare, so he has to make decisions important about other people every day. So, regard, he couldn't help me during the nights on the weekdays. He could only help on the weekends. But an integral role that he had and he took on was being that person to be my cheerleader, to prop me up and to be like, do you know what, Pooja, you got this. Even though you might feel, as I said, you give me some motivation right now because I am struggling. I don't think I could do this. You can. You got this. You're a really good mum. You can do it. And that kind of give me that little bit of pep to be like, okay, I can do this. It's going to be all right. And I know of other people who've done shifts. So one partner takes the early morning and the mother takes and they seem to work well for some people. For me, it wasn't like that. But then also my partner, he was very much to make sure I'd eaten food. I drank water, he wanted to restock my water bottle, restock my snacks without having to be asked. So it's those sometimes I'll have beforehand to know exactly what you think as a team and how you feel you both might benefit from helping each other in a way. At the time with my son, get the laundry done every day, and that was fine. Just have to be a mess, and that was fine. There is more on social media now to say what the realities are of being a mum, but your house doesn't have to be perfectly clean all the time. Just do what you can do. But at the same time, you're one person with two hands. At some point, something's got to give. You put on yourself to balance so much at the expense of yourself. You are the most important person in this, your baby. Yes, your baby's very important, but you're the most important. And that's just my opinion, really. Like I said, feed however works. There was, and I think Emma would agree, that there is a lot out there to sort of know if you're struggling. But you know what? Let's normalize taking the pressure off if you can do it. And that's fine. That doesn't make you a bad mum. You're looking after yourself while looking after your baby. A fed baby is the best way. And, I formula fed in the end after 6 months and she was fine. My son, I breastfed. He turned out fine. You do it, it's going to be okay. I was formula fed and I think I'm fine. Other people might disagree, but I think I'm fine. It really is okay, even if it feels, because I know it felt like for me that I must breastfeed. I must do it. I must do it. A good mum breastfeeds. That was narrative I was telling myself. And actually, I don't know why. I honestly don't know why I decided to do that to myself, because it's just not worth it for your own sanity. Building a comfort kit. I had a box. It was just like a tea bag selection I got off Amazon. And it was my favorite thing, that I would just have my favorite mug, my favorite tea, and some of it, and then transfer some of it into a thermos because it got cold. But a thermos is definitely a good thing to buy. Makes you feel comforted and in a way. And that might be motivational videos, that might be cozy, all things that you personally love. Just get it together somewhere in a folder on your phone or in a little box for yourself. I spent so much time thinking about organizing my drawers for both babies. Actually, I felt like it might be hormonal, the period, and I didn't really think so much about myself. And I think if I was to do it again, I probably would sack off all of the baby part, apart from nappies and vests and whatever else essentials I would just do. And I know that's probably not what most of you want to hear, so I'm very sorry. But that's what I would do. I would prioritize myself and do all of the things that I think I would need, for your boobs, comfy, for yourself, a stand for yourself, little snacks, little breastfeeding snacks. Those things, filling the freezer. There is a lot of content on social media about, oh, this is my postpartum freezer stash, and oh, it looks so aesthetically pleasing with all of these little round little date balls and all these things. Do you know what? It doesn't have to be fancy. It can just be right. If you make a bit bolognese, just make a bit more and stick it in the freezer for yourself in a portioned container. just like one portion or two portions. It doesn't have to be fancy. I remember when I was in my last week of pregnancy with my son, I made this butternut squash soup, which I just chucked the butternut squash, the onion, the garlic, and blended it with coconut milk. And then I just froze it flat. And basically I just broke off chunks of it and just warmed it up in a pan. And that kept me going for lunches for about a week, which was a godsend. Like, it wasn't fancy, it wasn't all these things that are out there, but it was just functional and it was tasty. And I really thank my past self for that. So try it and see how you guys get on. And also, even if you have people that you know will see the baby, why don't you just suggest to them, oh, instead of bringing stuff for the baby, or bring just vests for the baby, or just leggings for the baby, things like that, rather than like, I don't know, cute dresses that you know they're going to wear once and then, you know, we're out of it anyway. Or when they don't even walk, which I got quite a few of those. They do look cute though. But you know, you say, well, can you mind saving that money and doing like a meal for me, or, you know, a phase of lasagna? That'd be good. That you can just shove in the freezer and then take out. And it's super handy. And then it means that that's one thing off your mental plate, so that you can just be like, okay, I can spend time with my baby and do some bits of surface cleaning if I feel up to it. And that's fine. Also, like I said, talk about what support means, and it might look different to other people. Saving your numbers was quite useful for me, like having my GP on there, my health visitor, all of the locations for the face-to-face like breastfeeding clinic or anything like that. I know they do give you it when you see your health visitor as well, but it's just useful to have, like, just to save on your phone, just in case you might need it. And they do look at the nanny app right now. It does have like various posting to through the Pandas Foundation, all of those things. So it is on there, and I plan to sort of add a little bit as well. So I've spoken a little bit about Nanny. At the moment, it's free, as I'm trying to kind of start and just get as many people to try it, tell me what works, tell me what doesn't. Testing it would be amazing. I'd love any feedback that you can give me. I've had some constructive, which has been really, really so at the moment, I mean it, and then I'm going to be moving it to the App Store once I've got a bit more data on it, and then from there it will be a subscription, but it will be relatively cheap, probably the price of a coffee per month, because the main aim with this is just that I want to help as many people as possible, and I really think that there is something to Nanny, and that it will really help people, help mums worldwide in the future as well. And I would love to be part of the NHS in the future. So that's the end goal. So I'd love any help or any feedback that you have. Thank you. I'd like to invite any questions that you guys have.
I have one. Thank you. This was lovely. I really enjoyed it. And the honesty as well is so true. But I was just wondering, you mentioned, for example, there's lots of numbers there. I'll sharing actually, just to give people the chance to ask anything. But what do we find on the app?
So basically you can, when you open it, it asks you how you're feeling, and then you can type in what you feel, what's going on. And then based on the time of day and the history of what you've previously typed in, it gives you, it posts you to any help that you might need. So for example, if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed or you're feeling tired, it gives you the link and the telephone numbers to the Samaritans, the foundation, and it sort of it is to kind of in the moment, because the that are out there are great, but they are few and far between, in my opinion. So, you know, at a particular moment, if you are struggling, or even if you're having a good moment, to kind of really drink that in a way, to really drink in that good moment, to say, oh, you know, just put that in the bank, to sort of let me pull that out when I'm struggling again, you know. So there's all sorts of audio recordings on the app which are matched with what you type in. So the audios are recorded in my own cheesy voice.
This is lovely.
Thank you. When I work in radiotherapy, a big part of that was we would coach patients through the treatment. Sometimes we'd have to speak to them from outside of the room. And there were so many patients who told me that I had a really good voice, a radio voice. But, well, I can try and run with it and see what happens.
And can you actually talk to the app as well? Is it just typed?
So at the moment it's typed just while I get feedback. But then the aim, yes, is for it to be a voice. I think that's pretty easy to add, as I'm aware. But the problem is as I build on it myself and make it more complex, it's not going to work on the web app as it stands for much longer. So I think come September, when I have a little bit more time and the kids are at school and nursery, I'll then need to take it off the web app and then move it onto the App Store. So it will be around for a bit.
What does that mean for people wanting to try it?
Still access it through the same link. And then, do want to try it and it's not there, then they can just shoot me. You guys can just shoot me a message on LinkedIn and I can sort it out for you.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. Link on the chat. So anyone who wants to give it a go, they can just click on there and just try it or save it, like you mentioned.